You ever have one of those moments where your brain just stalls? Not panic, not rage, just this weird, empty static, like someone unplugged your thoughts. That's what happened to me the night I found my wife's dating profile. My name's Eric Marshall. I'm 41. We live just outside Charlotte, North Carolina. Suburbs, quiet streets, the kind where everybody waves but minds their business. My wife, Melanie, she's 38. Works as a marketing manager for a big healthcare company downtown. Smart, polished, the kind of woman who could talk anyone into anything without breaking a sweat. We met 13 years ago at a barbecue thrown by mutual friends. I was working in IT for a logistics firm back then. She was the new hotshot at a PR agency. I spilled beer on her shoes 5 minutes after meeting her. Thought I'd blown it. She laughed, said it was the most interesting conversation she'd had all night. 6 years later, we got married, bought the house, built a life, had 2 kids, Emily and Noah. They're 8 and 6 now. Wild, funny, loud. The kind of chaos that fills a house with life even when you're bone tired. We even had this little thing called phone-free Fridays. Once a week, no screens. Just dinner, cards, sometimes a movie. It was Melanie's idea. Said she wanted to stay connected. Looking back now, it's almost funny. Almost. It started like any regular night. I was watching a game on the couch, half paying attention, half scrolling on my phone. You know, the usual. A buddy of mine had been whining about modern dating, so out of sheer boredom, I downloaded the same app he was using just to see what the fuss was about. Harmless, right? I wasn't even thinking about anything shady. Just flipping through, laughing at the weird bios, the terrible selfies, until I saw a face that stopped me cold. Melanie, my wife. Hair a little lighter in the picture. Makeup heavier. Different vibe. But it was her. No mistaking it. Profile name. Looking for something real. Age. 2 years younger than she actually was. Status. Single. I just stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the picture like it might bite me. You know what's funny? In that first second, my brain didn't even scream cheating. It went blank. Like some part of me refused to believe what my eyes were showing me. At first, I thought, maybe it's a mistake. Maybe someone stole her photos. Catfish stuff. Happens all the time, right? But then I read the profile. Loves beach sunsets. Wine nights. Looking for passion and adventure. Not into drama. Word for word, things she'd actually said to me. Little phrases. Private jokes. It wasn't stolen. It was her. And suddenly, the late work meetings, the girls' nights she didn't want me to tag along to, all of it snapped into focus. I felt like I'd been punched, but the pain hadn't arrived yet. Just numbness. I don't even remember closing the app. Just sitting there, staring at the TV while some announcer yelled about a touchdown. Touchdown. Great. Meanwhile, my marriage was on fire. The next morning, I sat across from her at breakfast. Emily was arguing with Noah about who got the bigger pancake. Melanie was laughing, trying to referee without losing her mind. And I just watched her, like she was a stranger. I didn't say anything. Not yet. Because here's the thing no one tells you. When you catch someone like that, it's not fireworks. It's not righteous anger. It's heartbreak in slow motion. It's realizing that every "I love you," every shared inside joke, every bedtime story, it all has an asterisk now. And you can't go back to before you saw it. Ever. I didn't sleep much that night. Or the night after. Every time I closed my eyes, I'd see her profile staring back at me. That same smile I thought was mine. That same face I kissed goodnight for years. By Monday, my stomach was in knots. Work felt like static noise. I sat through meetings, nodded at all the right moments, but my mind was 1,000 miles away. Every free second, I found myself spiraling. Was it just some dumb profile she forgot to delete? Some weird midlife crisis thing? Or was there more? Honestly, deep down, I already knew. You don't lie about being single unless you're planning to act like it. I needed to know for sure. Not because I didn't believe what I saw, but because once you cross that line, once you confront it, there's no undoing it. So I started small. Quiet. First thing I did was check her phone habits. Used to be she'd leave it charging in the kitchen overnight. Now, it was glued to her side. Face down. Always locked. And there were the overtime nights. 2 in 1 week already. Melanie coming home tired but wired, like someone trying too hard to seem normal. It felt like living with an actor who never dropped the act. One night, after she fell asleep, dead to the world after one of her client dinners, I grabbed her purse, Found her work phone. Locked. Of course. Different passcode from the one she used to have. I put it back exactly how I found it. No rash moves. No smoking gun. Not yet. Meanwhile, the kids kept rolling like nothing was wrong. Noah built Lego cities on the living room floor. Emily practiced her spelling words out loud. And every "good job, sweetie" from Melanie felt like a dagger in my ribs. Because I kept thinking, how do you fake a whole life? By Thursday, I couldn't take it anymore. I needed something concrete. Something I could point to, even if it broke me. So after putting Emily and Noah to bed, I waited until Melanie hopped in the shower. I sat at the kitchen counter, staring at her laptop. It was right there. Charging. She hadn't used it much lately. Always too busy with work stuff. I hesitated. Then I opened it. No password. First stop, browser history. Mostly boring. Amazon orders. A couple recipes. Work emails. Then, buried a few pages down. Best opening lines for dating apps. How to meet new people discreetly. I swear, my heart just stopped. Not beat faster. Not panic. Just flat out stopped. I closed the laptop. Sat there in the dark kitchen, hands shaking a little. This wasn't some misunderstanding. This wasn't a leftover account from her single days. This was fresh. Current. Ongoing. And I had two choices: confront her immediately or keep playing dumb until I figured out what to do. Guess which one I picked? Because here's the thing they never tell you. When your whole life hangs on one decision, you don't always charge in guns blazing. Sometimes you sit there, in the hum of the fridge and the buzz of your own heartbeat, and you freeze. Because once you move, once you speak, everything changes forever. Friday rolled around faster than I wanted it to. The whole week had been this tightrope act of pretending nothing was wrong. Morning coffees, packing school lunches, texting Melanie little "love you" emojis like an idiot. Meanwhile, every time she smiled at me, a little part of me cracked inside. I told myself, get through the weekend. Figure it out. I even tried to convince myself that maybe, just maybe, I'd misunderstood. Maybe it wasn't as bad as it looked. But then Friday night happened. Melanie came home late again. Said she got roped into an impromptu team dinner. I nodded like a good husband. Meanwhile, Emily had fallen asleep on the couch waiting for her. Noah too. Both of them still in their little socks, clutching half-eaten bowls of popcorn. I carried them upstairs, tucked them in, kissed their heads. Then I sat in the living room, lights off, staring at the front door like some sad watchdog. She breezed in just after 11. "Hey," she said, kicking off her heels. "Sorry it ran so late." I just nodded. She didn't notice how stiff I was. Or maybe she did and just didn't care. She kissed me on the forehead, like I was one of the kids. "Long day?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Real long." She headed upstairs, humming to herself. And me? I sat there in the dark another hour, trying to feel anything but empty. The next morning, I started planning. Not crazy spy stuff. Nothing illegal. Just information. If Melanie was meeting someone, she had to be doing it somewhere. Somewhere she thought I'd never check. I needed to catch her without tipping my hand. I remembered an old iPad we gave Emily last Christmas. Melanie set it up using her own Apple ID because she was too impatient to make a new one. Meaning? Same ID. Same cloud. Same Find My tracking. I dug it out from under Emily's bed while she was at a sleepover. Charged it up. And there it was. Melanie's phone, visible on the map. Like a bright little blinking secret. Saturday morning, Melanie was all smiles again. "I'm meeting Jenna for brunch," she said, grabbing her purse. "Girls catch-up day." "Sounds fun," I said. "Don't wait up. Might do a little shopping too. Take your time." She kissed my cheek. Her perfume lingered in the air. I waited exactly 5 minutes after she pulled out of the driveway. Then I opened the iPad. She wasn't headed to the mall. She wasn't headed to the diner where she and Jenna usually met. She was driving across town, straight toward a part of the city we had no reason to be in. I grabbed my keys. For the first time in this whole mess, I wasn't just going to sit and wonder. I was going to see it for myself. I followed her. Not right up on her. Nothing reckless. Just a few cars back. Plenty of distance. The iPad kept updating her location every few minutes. Blessed technology, right? She took a few side streets. Hit a stretch of industrial buildings, old warehouses turned into hipster lofts and creative spaces nobody actually needed. Finally, she pulled into a little lot behind a nondescript building. No signs. No logos. Just a door. She parked, got out, straightened her jacket, and walked inside like she'd been there 100 times. I stayed in my truck, heart hammering so loud I was sure someone could hear it. Minutes dragged by. I kept telling myself to stay cool. Be smart. After about 20 minutes, I saw another car pull in. Newer model Lexus. Tinted windows. A guy got out. Mid-30s, business casual, too much hair product. One of those guys who smiled at his own reflection. He didn't hesitate. Walked right to the same door Melanie had gone through. I watched him punch in a code on the keypad. He knew it. I felt sick. Another 20 minutes crawled by. I told myself, maybe it's some kind of private gym. Maybe it's a networking event. Maybe. And then they came out. Melanie first. She was laughing. Flushed. Not drunk, not tipsy. Just glowing. The guy was close behind her. Too close. He said something that made her laugh harder, and she reached out, touched his arm. Not a friend tap. Not a coworker tap. Something different. Something that made my stomach twist so bad I had to look away for a second. When I looked back, they were getting into separate cars. Still playing it safe. Still hiding it. But the way she looked at him, she never looked at me like that anymore. I stayed parked long after they drove away. Just sitting there. Watching the empty lot. Watching the sun crawl lower across the sky. Trying to convince myself I hadn't just seen what I'd seen. But I had. And now I couldn't unsee it. There was no saving the story. No explaining it away. Melanie had another life. And she wasn't even trying that hard to hide it. I drove home on autopilot. Every street looked different. Every red light felt like it lasted an hour. When I pulled into the driveway, Emily's bike was tipped over on the grass. Noah's soccer ball was wedged against the mailbox. And for a second, I just sat there gripping the steering wheel, wondering how the hell I was supposed to pretend any of this was normal. Wondering how long I'd been living in a story someone else was quietly rewriting behind my back. I didn't say anything that night. When Melanie got home, I was sitting at the kitchen table, helping Emily cut out shapes for a school project. Noah was scribbling dinosaurs all over the leftover scraps. She came in, humming again, dropping her purse on the counter like it weighed 1,000 pounds lighter than the one sitting on my chest. "How was brunch?" I asked, real casual. "Good," she said, flashing that same easy smile. "Jenna's hilarious, as always." I nodded, kept my hands steady, kept my voice light. Because here's the thing. If you confront without proof, you give them a script. An excuse. A way to twist it back on you. And I wasn't going to let that happen. Not this time. The next few days were a weird blur. Melanie acted normal. Maybe too normal. She kissed me goodbye in the mornings. Texted me during the day. Tucked the kids into bed with that same sweet voice I used to fall asleep to. Meanwhile, I was living two lives. Smiling, nodding, pretending. And underneath, I was making a plan. I didn't need private investigators or hidden cameras. I just needed to be patient. Let her hang herself with her own rope. I started keeping a quiet log. Time she left. Excuses she gave. Where the iPad said she really went. It didn't take long to see the pattern. Wednesdays. Saturday afternoons. Always brunch with Jenna or girls' shopping trips. Always ending up at that same industrial building. Sometimes the Lexus would show up. Sometimes a different car. But it was never random. Never innocent. 2 weeks into my little experiment, I caught a break. She left her work laptop open one night. Emails pulled up. Some boring vendor stuff, nothing juicy. But in the recent folder, screenshots of restaurant reservations, hotels, a ticket to some wine tasting experience downtown, 2 tickets, actually, booked under her maiden name, different email, different phone number. I stared at that screen so long my eyes burned. I took pictures with my phone. Every file, every reservation. Evidence. Not to hurt her. To protect myself. Because when this exploded, and it would, I knew she'd spin it. We grew apart. He wasn't there for me. It wasn't about someone else. And maybe part of that would even be true. But at least now I'd have something to hold on to. Something that said, no, I wasn't crazy. I wasn't blind. You chose this. Every step of the way. By the time Sunday rolled around, I knew I couldn't keep pretending much longer. Every time she smiled at me, it felt like swallowing broken glass. I needed an exit plan. Not a screaming match. Not a soap opera in front of the kids. A clean break. First thing I did was call a lawyer. Quietly. From work. Locked in a conference room on my lunch break, pretending I was just another guy making a business call. Her name was Dana Curtis. Came highly recommended. Specialized in family law. I laid it all out for her, what I knew, what I had. Do you want custody? She asked. Full, I said without hesitation. Or as close as I can get. Because as much as I hated her for what she'd done to me, I hated even more what she might do to the kids if this mess bled into their lives. Dana was calm, professional. Told me what documents I'd need, what the timeline would look like. Gather financial records, she said. Bank statements. Retirement accounts. Anything in both your names. Already on it, I said. She chuckled. You're more prepared than most. I've had a lot of time to think, I said. Understatement of the year. After that call, something inside me shifted. No more limbo. No more what-ifs. I started moving money quietly. Opened a separate checking account. Changed my direct deposit to split part of my paycheck. Gathered copies of birth certificates, insurance policies, mortgage papers. Tucked them into a folder labeled work stuff. Melanie didn't notice a thing. Of course she didn't. She was too busy living her new life on the side. Monday night, we had dinner like nothing was wrong. Chicken Alfredo. Garlic bread. Noah making a mess. Emily practicing her spelling words between bites. Serendipity, she said, chewing on the word like it was bubble gum. What's that mean, Daddy? I cleared my throat. It means a happy accident. Melanie smiled across the table. And I smiled back. Because the happiest accident that night was that she still thought I was blind. Still thought she had time. Still thought I'd just sit there and take it. But the clock was ticking now. And she didn't even hear it. The week dragged like a slow-motion car crash. Every little thing she did, every fake laugh, every "I'm working late," every quick glance at her phone, grated on my nerves like sandpaper. I wasn't sleeping much. Maybe 4 hours a night, if that. I'd lay in bed next to her, staring at the ceiling fan spinning lazy circles above us, feeling more alone than I had in my entire life. Meanwhile, during the day, I kept stacking the deck. New P.O. box. New bank account. I even lined up a short-term rental on the other side of town, a 2-bedroom place with enough room for me and the kids if it came to that. It felt surreal, doing all this. Like I was moving pieces on a board I never agreed to play on. But what choice did I have? I wasn't going to be the guy who got blindsided again. Not for her. Not for anybody. Thursday night, everything came to a head. It started small, like these things always do. Emily had a school recital, one of those spring celebration things where the kids wear paper flowers on their heads and sing songs about the seasons. Melanie had promised she'd be there. Wouldn't miss it for the world, she said that morning, giving Emily a big kiss on the forehead. I should have known better. Should have seen it coming. I sat there in the folding chairs, crammed between a bunch of other parents with their phones out, clapping at everything. Noah was on my lap, eating goldfish crackers one by one, his head bobbing along to the music. And Melanie's seat, front row, right next to me, stayed empty. I checked my phone once. Then twice. Nothing. No, I'm running late. No, I'm stuck at work. Just silence. Emily kept glancing at the door while she sang. And every time she did, it felt like someone driving a nail a little deeper into my chest. When we got home, it was almost 8:30. Kids were wound up from all the excitement. Took longer than usual to get them bathed and into bed. By the time I came downstairs, Melanie still wasn't home. I sat at the kitchen table, same place I'd been sitting the night I first saw her profile. The iPad was right there. I tapped it awake. There she was. Same industrial neighborhood. Same damn building. I stared at that blinking dot for a long time. Then I stood up, grabbed my jacket. And this time, I wasn't just going to sit back and take it. The drive across town felt like moving through molasses. Every red light dared me to turn around. Every green light pushed me closer to a truth I didn't want but couldn't ignore. When I pulled into that same lot, I killed the engine and sat there for a second, trying to breathe, trying to steel myself. I wasn't stupid enough to storm in there. That wouldn't help anybody. But I needed to see, really see. So I waited. And about 15 minutes later, the door opened. There she was, Melanie, wearing a dress I hadn't seen before. Black, tight, the kind of thing you don't wear to brunch with your girlfriends. And right behind her, that same guy, hair slicked back, shirt half untucked, laughing like he'd just won the lottery. He leaned in close, said something low in her ear. She laughed, tilted her head just enough for him to kiss her neck. And she let him. Didn't pull away, didn't even look around. Just smiled, like she belonged to him. Not to me, not to our kids, not to the life we built. To him. I watched them get into his car together, watched them drive off into the night. And I sat there, frozen. You ever have that feeling where your body wants to move, wants to scream, to punch something, to break, but your mind just locks down? That was me. I don't know how long I sat there. Could have been minutes. Could have been hours. All I know is, when I finally turned the key and drove home, I wasn't the same man who left. I was done. Not heartbroken. Not confused. Just done. The next day, the real storm would start. And this time, I was ready for it. Friday morning, I woke up before the sun. Didn't even bother trying to sleep anymore. What was the point? I sat at the kitchen table, a cup of black coffee cooling in front of me, watching the sunrise smear across the window. Melanie came down around 7 o'clock, still yawning, hair up in a messy bun. "Morning," she said, pouring herself a cup like nothing was wrong. "Morning," I said back. Cool. Calm. I watched her scroll through her phone, tapping out a few texts. Probably to him. Probably planning whatever lie she needed today. And it hit me, how easy it was for her now. How effortless. At some point, she'd crossed a line inside herself. And now? Now it was just habit. I waited until the kids were dropped off at school. Waited until the house was quiet. Then I spoke. "Melanie," I said, leaning back in my chair. "We need to talk." She froze for a second. Just a flicker. Then she smiled. "Sure. What's up?" "Sit down." She sat. Tried to look relaxed. But I could see it, the slight tension in her shoulders. The way her fingers fidgeted with the hem of her sweater. "Is something wrong?" she asked, all sweet concern. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I pulled out my phone. Opened the photos. Turned it around. Showed her the screenshots. The reservations. The dating profile. The locator maps. Everything. She stared at it. Silent. And for a second, I thought, maybe she'd come clean. Maybe she'd cry, beg, apologize. But she didn't. She lifted her eyes and said, "I can explain." I almost laughed. "Explain what?" I said. "How long have you been lying to me?" She opened her mouth. Closed it. Then the anger came. Not from me. From her. "You've been spying on me? Tracking me?" she snapped. "That's sick, Eric." I leaned forward. "You've been cheating on me." Silence. Just the fridge humming in the background. "I deserve to know," I said. "And now I do." She stood up, crossing her arms over her chest. "It's not what you think," she said. "It's complicated." "No," I said. "It's not." I stood up too. Felt oddly calm. "I talked to a lawyer," I said. "The papers are ready." Her mouth opened. Closed. "You don't have to do this," she said, voice softer now. "We can work through it. We have the kids. We have." "You should have thought about that," I said, "before you threw it away." She started crying then. Real tears. Maybe guilt. Maybe fear. I didn't know. And honestly, I didn't care. Because it was too late. She wasn't the woman I married anymore. She was a stranger who happened to know my favorite coffee mug and the names of my childhood pets. Nothing more. I packed a bag that afternoon. Just a few essentials. Told her she could stay at the house for now. The kids needed stability. I'd take the rental. "We'll tell them it's temporary," I said. "Until we figure things out." She nodded through the tears. "I'm sorry," she said one last time. I didn't answer. Because what was there left to say? I drove away without looking back. Not because it didn't hurt, but because I already knew. Whatever we had, it was gone. And no amount of tears or sorries would ever bring it back. The first night alone in the rental felt like stepping into someone else's life. It was small. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, no frills. A sad little beige couch. A kitchen that smelled faintly like paint thinner. I dropped my duffel bag in the middle of the living room and just stood there for a while. Nothing felt real. Not the buzzing fridge. Not the cheap blinds rattling in the air conditioner draft. Not the silence pressing down from all sides. I sat on the edge of the couch, hands hanging between my knees, and stared at the wall. No TV. No music. No kids' laughter upstairs. Just me and the reality of it all finally settling in. That first weekend without Emily and Noah was brutal. They stayed with Melanie, like we agreed. Normal routines, no sudden changes. I told myself it was better that way. They needed stability. Familiar beds, familiar walls. Didn't make it easier. Saturday morning, I woke up at 6 a.m. out of habit, half ready to pack lunches and tie shoelaces and argue about whether dinosaurs could live on the moon. Instead, I made coffee and stared out the window for an hour. Everywhere I looked, life was going on without me. Joggers. Dog walkers. Families loading up minivans for soccer games. And me? I was floating. No anchors. No map. Just drifting. Sunday afternoon, Melanie texted. A photo of the kids at the park. Noah hanging upside down from the jungle gym. Emily holding a snow cone bigger than her head. They miss you, she wrote. I stared at that message for a long time. Didn't answer right away. Because yeah, they missed me. And I missed them. But none of it, was my choice. I didn't break the house in half. I didn't rewrite our story without warning. That was her. All her. Finally, I texted back. Tell them I love them. I'll call tonight. Simple. Distant. Because I had to be. If I let myself crack open, even a little, I wasn't sure I'd ever stop bleeding. That night, we FaceTimed. Emily showed me her latest art project, a glittery, lopsided volcano that somehow exploded with purple lava. Noah held up a bug he found in the backyard like it was the Hope Diamond. I smiled. I laughed. Pretended everything was fine. Melanie hovered in the background, pretending not to listen. I kept it short. Told them I loved them. Promised we'd have our day next weekend. Hung up before my voice cracked. Sat there in the dark for a long time after. Just listening to the silence. Just trying to breathe. You know what's weird? You think the big stuff, the fights, the tears, the moving boxes, is what kills you. But it's not. It's the little things. The empty toothpaste cup. The lack of tiny shoes scattered by the door. The way nobody calls out Dad the second you walk through the door. The way you sit down at the table out of habit, then realize there's no one coming to join you. It's death by 1,000 cuts. And every cut is something you used to love. By Monday morning, I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't staying in limbo. Not for Melanie. Not for anybody. I had a meeting scheduled with Dana that afternoon. Finalize the paperwork. Lay out custody terms. Start moving forward. No more looking back. No more what-ifs. Because the truth was simple. Whatever future Melanie thought she was chasing, it didn't include me. And I'd be damned if I let her drag me through the mud while she chased it. The final meeting with Dana was quick. Clean. I signed where she pointed. Initialed where she nodded. It felt a little too easy, honestly. Like signing up for a gym membership you knew you'd never use. Meanwhile, Melanie had already been served. Her lawyer, some slick downtown type, tried to push back on a few things. Custody schedules. Asset splits. But Dana wasn't having it. We had the evidence. We had the timeline. And most importantly, we had the truth. It didn't matter how many crocodile tears Melanie cried. Didn't matter what excuses she tried to spin. She made her choices. Now she could live with them. The custody arrangement was simple. 50-50 to start. Kids stay in the house for now. I'd have them every other week. Split holidays down the middle. I hated it. But it was better than a messy fight that dragged them through the dirt. They didn't deserve that. None of this was their fault. They just needed both parents showing up. Loving them. Steady. And God help me, I was going to be steady. Even if I was barely holding myself together some days. We met one last time to finalize everything. Neutral ground. Coffee shop. Mid-morning when the place was mostly empty. Melanie showed up 10 minutes late. Sunglasses. Tense smile. Like she was playing the part of someone who had her life together. She slid into the chair across from me without a word. Dana passed her the final stack of papers. Melanie glanced through them. Signed. Signed again. It took maybe 15 minutes. And just like that. 17 years together. 2 kids. A house, a life. Over. Done. We stood up. For a second, neither of us moved. No handshake. No hug. No, I'm sorry, worth hearing. Just this sad, empty space between us where a marriage used to be. Finally, she said, I hope we can be good for them. For Emily and Noah. I nodded once. Not for her. For them. Always for them. And then I walked out. Didn't look back. Didn't let myself wonder if she watched me go. Because it didn't matter anymore. Not really. The life we built together was already gone. All that was left now was picking up the pieces. And building something better. Something honest. Even if it was just me, one small piece at a time.